have the yeah, well, I think if I find this flyer, I can link to the design. You're welcome.
All right, everybody, know it. We're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay, I got it.
I'm not saying how this is.
There are more chairs. All right.
Hey, John.
We're working on more chairs. We're going to make another.
One more row here.
She doesn't get to come and she was allocated.
I ran into her.
Oh, no.
Kidding me?
That's the nice thing. We're working for the first time. I am here for someone to tell you that signs don't really use
Yes, it's on the
Yard signs.
I did.
Well, no, it's a question.
I've seen it a few times in meetings too.
Hey, is there anybody who hasn't scanned in yet?
That's what he said before you got it. He said, sure, yeah. Sorry, I'm moving on. Anybody else? Did you get it?
All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. All right, everybody. Welcome to tonight's meeting. If you're here for the Old Town meeting, that was last week. Tonight, we're going to be talking about downtown. My name is John Donlevy. I'm the city manager here. And tonight, our meeting is going to last exactly 1 hour. And the reason why it's only going to last exactly 1 hour is that I have to buy them lunch if we go beyond 1 hour. So we're going to get this going. So welcome. If you haven't scanned in with your phone, get onto the QR code. What that's going to do, we're going to have a whole interactive portion of the meeting and your ability to scan in. If you have some seats over here, get this going. All right, you know what? We're going to try just the first question that comes up. If you can, look down at your phone, and there's a real easy question. What's your favorite Old Town pizza? And I can tell you that last week, the Old Town group got it completely wrong. Oh. They did. It was completely wrong. So.
How can it be wrong? Oh, are we supposed to name that pizza?
No. Take your vote.
Oh, there you
This is also kind of a test on things because it gives us a good idea of how many people in the room. We have people both online and here. So come on in. There's a seat right here, and we'll get another seat for some of you. Right. Very good. All right. Just so you know, you got the question right this week. Last week, see, I felt that there was absolute bias in last week's meeting. On the thing, they put, which one is this, the gold miner or Motherload Pizza? They totally ruined it. Everybody got this week's right. It's Doc's Chicken. That is the best pizza. So, Amy, let's go to the next. So tonight, we're going to go through a number of items. So this is capital planning. One of the things that you are going to help us do is the council has budgeted $500,000 for Old Town, $500,000 for downtown. And what we're asking you to do is we're going to go through, we're going to talk about things as a way of kind of narrowing down the scope. We're going to talk about some of the ideas of things that folks think are important that we spend that $500,000 on, and you're going to help us do it. I'm going to try and provide as much information as I can. Realize that for both downtown and Old Town, online on the city's website, there is a whole cache of all the information, literally the construction drawings for various things. So I'm going to be referring to various presentations and things. And when I say that they're on the website, it's on the city's website because we have a link. From tonight's meeting, what we're going to do is all this presentation, including all of the input that everybody generates throughout the meeting, is going to go right on there. So if you want to go and get a review of tonight's meeting, you're going to be able to do that tomorrow. So we've got 6 different things that we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to look at the 2008 streetscape program. And the city actually went through quite a process for that. It's when Caltrans basically abandoned the Highway 49 as it went through the city, up Lincoln Way, High Street, etc. One of the reasons why we're focusing on that is, and kind of as a bureaucrat, I will tell you that if you can get planning through an environmental process, it saves you a lot of time and money. And in this case, when they did the 2008 streetscape plan, they went through, there are 9 different segments, and I'll show you those in a few minutes, but the 9 different segments of the way we went through, and if we want to do anything in any one of those segments, it's pretty easy. Except for coming up with all the money. But other than that, it goes. So we're going to look at that. We're going to talk about capital infrastructure, and I'm going to just try and get everybody familiar with some of the vernacular on that and some of the things we talked about. We're going to talk a little bit about outdoor dining. Outdoor dining is going to have to transition, and we'll discuss that a bit. Parking. Parking always comes up. Last week, when we had hey, what do we need more of? I bet a third of the answers were parking. Parking is always super popular. We're going to talk about pedestrian and traffic flow. Yep, tonight we'll talk a little bit about and present and get some input from folks regarding some of the proposals for Upper Lincoln Way, the infamous one-way proposal, but we're also going to just talk about various options because it's a topic. It's out there. We're not going to decide anything tonight. We're not. But we're going to start at least a dialogue to kind of figure out where everybody's at and where we want to go. And then the final thing that we're going to do is do a little bit of brainstorming on things. All right, Amy. So the Auburn Streetscape Master Plan, adopted in 2008, very visionary document. This is the document that gave you Central Square. A lot of ideas. This was predicated in 2008 in California. There was a whole program that existed called redevelopment. And the state of California killed redevelopment in 2010. So if you're wondering why only Central Square and the main corridor there was done, it was because much of the idea in the planning was predicated on redevelopment. There are about 80 slides on this presentation. And how many people want me to go through 80 slides?
No. Is this available online?
It is. The entire presentation is on the website. And if you go through it, it's actually great information. And as you look at the various things, there's a lot of foresight. There's a ton of detail. And like I said, it's very visionary. And if you have a chance, take a look at it. So the downtown streetscape, and on everybody's seat, you will have this map. And what it is as you look at the plan, there are actually 9 different phases. This is Elm Street, and down here, this is Old Town. It actually goes all the way through. And this plan was developed in response to the abandonment by Caltrans of State Highway going through this direction. And there are actually street sections for each one of these. And they're kind of broken out. Hopefully people are familiar with this stretch, mostly High Street, Lincoln Way. And you go to the next slide. One of the other options that we have is Upper Lincoln Way. Basically the court, yes.
Are there any extra maps?
Yeah.
And we get some more maps.
Yeah.
We'll get some for you. Don't worry about it. We'll make some more copies of it. One of the things that we're throwing in is Upper Lincoln Way as an option. Okay. And we'll talk about that. Next slide. So what you see right here, this is actually the first phase that was done. This is actually phase 2, and this is Central Square. Great project. And it represents, in so many ways, all the amenities that you're looking at in really smart planning that people try to do is the idea of creating great spaces, places where people are going to gather, where people are going to come into a location and enjoy it. And in this case, I can't think of anything better. I think Central Square has done that. There are amenities in there. There's a fire pit. There's the climbing apparatus that they put in the middle that says no climb on it. It's like the ultimate parkour thing. If they just stop breaking the bottom off of the salmon, it'd be okay. But Central Square is that great space. Just from a planning standpoint, some of the things they did, they narrowed down the street a lot. They basically took an entire section of the street out to narrow it. That in planner speak, that's what they call traffic calming. You narrow the street down. Wide streets people drive fast on, narrow streets people drive slower on. And the idea is to make it a better pedestrian experience. Nobody likes walking in areas where people are driving fast. So anyway, this is actually the section that's been done. And some of the amenities, they undergrounded most of the utilities through this area. They not only did all the sidewalks and the patio areas, they put in landscaping. One of the things people ask, well, gosh, why are the little parking, the bulb out areas, really smart planning? Basically, those are bioswales that they put in. As the water goes through the rocks or the grass and all that stuff, it cleans the water. They get an A for what they call low impact design on things. And so if you go There's the fire pit, goes up High Street in that way. Go ahead, Amy. The other section of that is probably the most prominent, and to be really honest with you, as we look at the overall area of talking about downtown, for the purpose of tonight, is the idea that we're focusing basically from that first phase, Upper Lincoln Way, and going up High Street to Elm Street. This actually encompasses a number of the different phases that are going up there. Elm Street being here, and then Placer Street being down at the very bottom. Some of the elements on here that are really fun. If you look, right now it's all parallel parking. They've added in diagonal parking. One of the ways that planners really cheat to slow cars down is what you do is you put in the diagonal parking. Because what it does is it slows everybody down. And also, people are better diagonal parkers than they are parallel parkers. I know that you have to do that to get your driver's license, but who's gotten a driver's license in the past year? Nope. There's diagonal parking. At the corners, what they've added are what they call bulb outs, and it's the idea of extending the sidewalk out. It's the idea of choking down the intersection for folks. And again, that's a traffic calming element. It's also a way of, from when we talk about really good environmental design, the idea that you have water and all that stuff that's going through cleans everything up. And it also gives you the opportunity. In here, they've added in some median areas. Again, to add some trees or those types of things in. Down here, believe it or not, at Reamer and Cleveland, there's the ability to put in a roundabout. Get rid of the traffic signal and put in a roundabout on various things. So this is kind of our focus tonight as far as things, or looking at Upper Lincoln Way. So Amy, if we can go to the next slide. One of the things that we do have is this map right here is actually all the utilities. And anybody who knows anything about downtown knows that a lot of things like our storm drains and those, they're very challenged. There is no question about that. The other portion, almost all of the utilities are above ground, wickedly expensive. Anybody work for PG&E or anything? Anybody have to get utilities from PG&E recently? Good luck.
The bills are a killer.
Yeah.
It's not only the bills, but it's really interesting. You talk with people about who want to get something done with PG&E. You need to get your firstborn child and go put them in line, and maybe by the time they're done with college, they'll get through the line with PG&E. But anyway, this is we have this on the website. This is one of the things. A critical path part of everything that we're doing right now. For this area, we are having what is known as preliminary engineering done. And we are, for those who have businesses, you're going to start seeing engineering surveyors. We're going to go out, we're going to be completely updating all of this. One of the other things that we're going to try and do is we're going to try and get some video inspection of not only the sewer lines, but also we're trying to get into the storm drains. We know that the storm drain, basically from Elm going all the way into Central Square is almost shot. But the thing that from all of this, when I say that we have $500,000, I'll tell you that we're already spending it. And we're doing it from the preliminary engineering, because in order to do anything, we're going to need to do that. All right, Amy? Okay. All right. So right now, take a minute and what we've done is we've kind of broken everything down into different places. If we were gonna focus the planning effort on things, where do you think we should do it? We've kind of listed the various phases. The phases are listed on your sheet. And
Next thing.
if you look at these are the same phase numbers. So if you look at the colors and you find the location, yes, ma'am.
So if you're talking about Upper Lincoln Way, what would you be talking about there? So how would,
Probably the whole stretch, probably from about Cleveland down.
I know, but what? What would you do?
We're just focusing on the area. I know we're gonna have other questions
Okay.
that'll get to that. We're not there. For the most part, and I can tell you, we will not get to just one area. We're trying to get an idea for where people think some of the areas. And ultimately, we'll break it down into a couple. I can tell you that from last week's Old Town meeting, we started off with 5 different locations in Old Town, and we narrowed it down to 2 main locations. All right. Hey, Amy, if there's any way for you to move the dialogue box down so I can see the screen a little bit better.
I don't have maps like
Hey, John. Yeah.
On your side.
Right.
You got it, your side.
That's okay. Yeah, that's.
Just move it, put it down on your.
Yes.
I know. She-
But I mean, you can get on.
Just maybe you move on the outside.
I don't have the two.
No, I just gave something. I just-
Okay, and if you didn't get a map, we'll have them up here for people to pick up. So kind of looking at this, we have almost half of the people voting, looking at Upper Lincoln Way. And it makes sense. Phase 4, coming from Elm on High Street, obviously the entry coming in the city. So basically half the people are on Upper Lincoln Way.
Now, where's Upper Lincoln Way here?
It's not on there.
Okay.
We added that as an option. We just showed that.
So is that like from Cleveland to?
But Cleveland all the way down. Okay. Okay, so focusing on look, as we move forward, because we've got a couple more questions that we're going to ask folks. When we look at the focus of the planning, let's just kind of talk about Upper Lincoln Way. And quite honestly, some of the things that we're talking about in the different phases could go someplace else. Amy, let's go to the next question. So when we talk about those areas, if you can put on your urban planning hat. A lot of these things are exchangeable. So if we were going to talk about facilities or the things that you think, hey, if we were going to do something with this $500,000, and we're going to give other options, but right now we're just talking about some of the streetscape planning things. How would you spend the money? And we talked about the pedestrian amenities, adding more crosswalks, doing more decorative crosswalks. The idea of the traffic calming, those are the bulb outs and choking down some of the intersections, the medians. The idea of some type of landscape median or at least separating medians, traffic calming types of things or roundabouts. Let's see what we do. Okay. One of the things that everybody who's here, I think there's gonna be a sign-in sheet where you put your email and everything. We will be having follow-up emails to you, where you're gonna get a survey monkey. I'm curious, is there anything, and this is kind of the shouted out portion of the meeting, is there anything that we didn't include here that you think is important?
Bike access.
Bike access, okay.
Sidewalks.
I think that was in
Grace.
parking enforcement.
Hallelujah.
And we're gonna get to the parking.
Signage?
Okay.
It's signage.
You know what? We were up in Truckee and we went and looked at all their bike stuff up there and I can't believe that you could put that in. Go ahead.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say more family, like kid friendly space, which might be pedestrian friendly.
Okay.
I think we could attract a lot of young families.
We are not gonna spam you, but we are following up. This morning I was working on round 2 on Old Town. It's gonna go out early next week. But what we're trying to do at these meetings, like I said, we're only gonna be here for an hour. And we're gonna go through a lot of stuff, but what we're doing is we're narrowing the scope. Where should we be focusing? What are some of the hot topics? And then the idea is if we missed anything, we're gonna, we'll basically send this survey back out to you. And we'll say, okay, what do you want on these things? So anything else? We've got more kid-friendly spaces, we've got bike access, sidewalks, trees, some type of parking stuff.
Is the infrastructure mentioned somewhere else?
We are, yes, we are gonna get that infrastructure in a minute.
John, someone said signage.
Signage, okay? Thank you.
The signage are.
We're gonna get to that. I've got I can tell you, we've got a great slide for that, on things. All right, Amy, let's move on to the next thing. So when we look at the overall capital infrastructure issues, I'm just telling you from the city side, some of probably the number one issue that we have is storm drainage. It's an issue. Basically, you've got a rotted out pipe that conveys a lot of the water for the downtown area. So that's why I put it in larger letters and everything else, because I'm just telling you from the staff perspective, from an engineering, that is our biggest red flag right now on things. We are doing 2 storm drain projects in residential areas this year, and they aren't the biggest ones around, and we're gonna spend probably, crossing my fingers, praying, doing everything I can, lighting candles. We've got 1.4 million that's going to these 2 projects, and we're just praying that we're gonna hit that number, because if we don't, we're gonna be very sad. Obviously sidewalks, we have a lot of above ground utilities. Underground utilities is expensive in non-standard streets. Amy, go to the next one.
John, can you explain what a non-standard street is?
So a non-standard street is either one that's very narrow or a very good example is right there across from Trepazzi and where the aid station is and all that. It's super wide to super narrow, and it kind of goes off in funky ways. And in some ways, I can tell you from a traffic standpoint, it's tough because people are used to driving in lanes. This is the lane I'm driving in, and you know what, when it all of a sudden widens out like that, you wig out, it's like, what the heck am I gonna do? But realize that non-standard streets give you great opportunities for things. It's the idea that if you've got a street that's too wide, you know what you do? Choke it down. Give the property owners and everybody a chance to take some of that back. So next question, picking two. Now, here's the assumption that we're throwing at you. Is that you have some familiarity with downtown. You're a property owner, you're a resident, you're a business down there. Here's your chance. Pick two of the things that you think are issues that you see. Remember, your job is to, you're helping us plan this stuff. So, you know, I'm watching the count on things. There are, I think there are 28 people that have been participating on everything. So I'm waiting for all 28 to get with the game. 2 holdouts, 1 holdout. Hooray, we made it. So what do we got? The water, sewer, and storm drains, educated folks. The idea of outdoor spaces, huge opportunities. We're going to talk about outdoor dining here in a minute and kind of how we get there. When people say sidewalks, I don't want to be presumptuous. Anybody want to shout? What do you think the issue with the sidewalks are?
Like a continuous route that you can get on and off of, and like with a stroller or a wheelchair.
ADA access.
Yeah, ADA access.
Fixing cracks.
Yeah, cracks and bumps.
A lot of them just don't meet ADA standards. And the other thing that's not up there is parking, getting people off the main drag to a parking spot so you get them out of their car and to walk. And you address the main drag, but you don't address how to get to the parking areas.
Yeah, and that's a huge issue. I've actually got a slide that I'm going to show everybody on the parking because I wasn't prepared last week. Super prepared this week to talk about the parking lot. Okay, hey Amy, let's go to the next slide. This is one where you got to learn to type. You got to channel your inner 16-year-old right now. For folks that have been around, if you can type down what you think are some of the past issues, current issues, past issues that you think from an infrastructure standpoint have been an issue. We've talked about the cracked sidewalks and all that stuff. We don't need to worry about that. We've talked a little bit about the storm drain stuff. If there are issues that you think need to be addressed, put them up here. And the reason why I'm asking is that I want to get all this stuff. We're going to inventory it. And then from this meeting, what we're going to do is we're going to move forward with, like I said, you're going to get hit with some additional surveys. But the next meeting that we're going to have, which is going to be in about 2 weeks, we're going to be narrowing everything down. The goal is that after 3 meetings, we're going to have a project that we're going to recommend. So tonight is the narrowing meeting. Narrow.
Looks like it's current too. Is it both or?
So yeah, it can be current and past issues. Just give us your best shot.
Okay.
What about the security system, the cameras?
Put that down.
That was.
It's right there, right there. It's already got.
Oh, it doesn't respond to my watching.
You say it.
Good stuff. These are very good. All right, who's chopping down the trees? Bikes. As everybody's typing in, I'll tell you that, so we went up to Truckee. They had like a big Wednesday night festival or anything. And it was bike central. They had these huge parking areas. I don't know how they did it, but they were wrangling all these bikes all over the place. And we learned a lot, except that I should have put it in the surveys. We're at our structures. We're going to talk about those in just a minute. The idea of community spaces, the greatest downtowns and that you have are places where people can just go and sit and hang out. You don't necessarily need to be going there just for commerce or to eat. It's places where people can just sit and meet with their friends or whatever. I tell folks, I may not look like it, but I do a lot of running. And I run all over this town. I see more people, I see the same groups of people meeting and just hanging out. And it's great. And one of the best things is they meet in some places and they all have a different coffee cup from a different place. So, good. All right, and by the way, all this, like I said, I hate to be a broken record, but all this is going to go up. From this meeting, I was kind of working on some of the Old Town stuff this morning. You're going to get the same thing. Make sure that you sign in, you get your email. We're going to push out to you. I'm going to put together a summary from tonight. We're not only recording this meeting, we're getting all the information, and I'm going to set out a summary. It says this is what we got. We narrowed it down to these kind of locations. People thought these were some of the key issues. And everybody will be able to backtrack to this stuff. But the idea is like I said, we're working to narrow the scope on everything. And from all these issues, we'll summarize them and forgive me if we don't exactly get it. All right, Amy, let's go to the next slides.
You have to sign it, you know that.
Well, why am I gonna
All
hide?
right, Amy, next slide, there we go. Okay, so just to kind of get a feel for so many of the things, I just went out and took pictures. When we talk about enhanced sidewalks, this is what we're talking about. This is just in Central Square, inlaying the bricks into it, adding artistic elements. You know, one of the greatest things about Auburn is the fact that as you are walking around, there are so many, your senses just go off. We have a really good looking town. It looks great. We have historic buildings. We've got charm, we're real. Adding in some of these amenities, this is fixing the sidewalks, but it's also decorating it. We've got decorative lighting. Go to the next one. You talked about the non-ADA sidewalks. This is a perfect example of it. One of the things that we've included in downtown is going to get the treatment on this is that we have specifically allocated money in this year's budget to go in and we're going to fix all the non-ADA corners we can. So you got that. That's a power pole. Power poles are like super expensive to go, but if you go the entire length of High Street, that's what you're dealing with. Next slide. We've got the narrowing of the street here. These storm drains are really old. As you go, what some of the issues are, undersized pipes and old. One of the things that we're doing, the city we own a lot of assets. If you own a business, you get this. All your stuff, all your capital, your cars, all that. The city, our assets are our streets and sidewalks and signs and traffic signals and street lights, sewer lines, storm drain lines, all of that. And we are we're putting together an overall asset management program. Downtown, without question, one of my biggest quests right now is we actually have these cameras. They look like they're big kind of giant hot dog submarine looking things with wheels on them. And we can send them up all over our pipes to do the inspections. We do not have one for storm drain. So we're working on that because what we've started doing, this year we went out and you can actually line the inside of the pipes. You actually blow this well, it's plastic. It's like plastic going up the storm drain or up the pipe. And what they do is they blow it into it, and then they inject a polymer that goes into it, and it hardens. And it's like a brand new pipe. We're doing that on our sewer this year. This is the first year we started doing it, and it beats that kind of digging everything up. So we're going to look to do the same thing with the storm drains. Amy, good. All right. Let's talk a little bit about outdoor dining. So the current status, we still have a lot of the temporary structures out there. We are still operating under the governor's emergency order, which allows us basically to have all the temporary structures that are out there. And that's why we haven't gone out with the businesses. We're just like, hey, let's just keep on going with this stuff until we come up with a policy, and we're working on that. I will tell you that we need to look for a permanent solution. And maybe within this $500,000, we may want to do some of that. The idea of working with some of the property owners. The city owns the street, the property owners own the sidewalks. If you own a commercial building in downtown or Old Town or wherever you, in the area, whether you like it or not, the sidewalk's yours. The opportunity to do some expansion of some things, to make some of the outdoor dining permanent. The horse stalls are going to have to go, but we'll look towards the removal of the temporary. There's some things we can do as far as sidewalk modifications. You can bulb out in front of some of these businesses if you like. People love that. Amy, go to the next slide. Very good. All right. Tell me what you think about outdoor dining. Like it, need more, need less? That's what you think.
So this is just a general question, like do we need it or we don't?
Yeah.
So we're not really going to talk about the structures that are there and what's going to happen with them.
Here's what I can tell you. Inevitably, the temporary structures that are out there.
Well, what is inevitable? Is there a time frame?
Right now, we're letting them go. It's still under the emergency order with the governor.
And that's just for restaurants, or could anyone who wants to start taking up parking spaces in front of their business do that?
No, we aren't issuing any new permits. We're not doing that.
Okay.
What we're doing is we're letting the ones that are out there.
And why are we doing that?
Because
what is the benefit for the town?
Well, they are being used, and the benefit is that we want to come up with a transition, and that's why we're asking this stuff.
So if we're going into winter, they're in a gutter. No one's going to sit in a gutter in the winter to sit outside.
And shops.
As business owners, we need parking going into the holidays so that we can have customers come and park.
And
Okay,
I have a statement too about this, but I
sure. Go to you, then we'll come up to you. There you go.
I have my statements up there, but,
Okay,
It's a good to me now.
okay. Okay.
so, so I'm a business owner. I have a Little Bird Mercantile and, I want to address this issue. I thought that the emergency declaration was passed, but, and I was happy at the time to have the restaurants receive that extra space because they were in dire need of it. But right now, it's taking up spaces and it's also just benefiting the restaurant owners. And Tim and I, we actually went around to the areas that are under Lincoln that really are affected by accessibility in our area and downtown area are. And we have 27 businesses that are against it that we went and talked to. So I want that to be known.
I understood it was for COVID-19.
It is.
Sorry.
The allowance for the outdoor dining stuff is for COVID, and we get it. We need to figure this stuff out. We've put it on here, and where we're probably gonna start moving towards is just the idea of trying to figure out what the transition is. Is the transition, no, we're not gonna do it? Or is the transition gonna be looking at alternatives? And probably it's gonna be looking at alternatives. Sure, so
I thought when they did that stuff, the permit was for 1 year.
it was.
So why you don't take it off?
You know, like,
1 year permit.
you know, from the city standpoint, I mean, the idea that we're just gonna go ripping down structures at this point.
After the permit, you can tell the owner of the
Yeah.
business, take it down. Like he said, it's winter time pretty soon. All the other business, they suffer because of that.
And who makes a decision that it's probably gonna go forward?
Yeah, you know, just so you know, we're addressing it now. We're trying to come up with.
Addressing it and how do we get involved to have an opinion?
But
Or,
from this process right now.
okay, so we've made it pretty clear then that we don't want it going forward. 69% what we're seeing, I'm not sure where they want that.
Different way, not this way.
Oh, okay, right,
Different seating,
Yeah.
not taking up
That's
parking
right.
spaces to
Yes.
sit in.
yeah, because that's a general question.
If you do the one-way street or Lincolnville, you can have a nice outdoor places. It doesn't bother anybody. One way has to be all over across, not either down or up. Whoever wanna go to out, they could go to High Street, turn around and come back again. That's a much better idea, if they wanna outdoor place.
But it would be depend on the direction in which they came, because the way that was proposed originally is not a good way.
You know, this is a perfect segue. We're gonna try, you know, this is just like, I feel like a Mark Wahlberg, we're about ready to turn right into the storm right now on the boat.
Yeah, we better get July 5.
So I have one more question there, but about the permit. When you have a permit, at least every time I had a permit, and it was only for a period of time, expired permit, I have to do something about it. Why we let it go?
So if you look at the timing, I know that COVID seems like it was so long ago. We really didn't start coming out of many of the COVID restrictions until about 8 months ago. And you know what, honestly, the tack that we've taken on it is trying to figure out where everything's going. We know that the issue's going away, and we're gonna deal with it. You know, the idea that we're just gonna go up and start knocking things out, we're trying to take a regional approach, and we're starting right now.
So I'm one of the people that said there should be no outdoor dining, even though I like to eat outside, because the number of months that you can successfully enjoy eating outside without rain or wind or smoke or heat are limited. So if we're looking at things to really help downtown, to me, I like eating outside, but I'm going, 4 months a year? So I mean, that was why I said none, because even though I like it, because to do it correctly.
That's it.
So the
Do
consensus.
it right, not take the business's parking
Just to
away.
kind of read it, because I can tell you, I have people that come and talk to me about it too. The consensus is people like outdoor dining, they do. They just don't like the
No,
way
it
it's
says
seen.
seating.
That
That says seating, not outdoor.
Yeah, I think that's very different.
But the remedy is not very dangerous to everybody. That's on the front of Monkey Cat. If somebody walking from Cherry Street out,
Yeah, it says about dining.
speeded, he's gone.
That is a very
He cannot
dangerous,
see it.
that's a very dangerous area. And like our Linden Heights.
It's been lucky so far, nobody hurt.
All right, well, you know what, thank you. And like I said, when we send out the summary on it, we're not going away from this. We'll be back.
My issue is that it should be dining
Yes.
versus parking.
Exactly.
You can have outdoor dining on your private property, you can have outdoor dining in a pizza place. A lot of the restaurants have outdoor dining. You're making it as though the only outdoor dining that's available is in the parking spaces. No, it isn't.
Yeah, no, Mike, you're absolutely right. And you know what, probably, I can tell you at the next meeting when we talk about this, we're gonna look at the alternatives. Because the next step in a lot of this stuff is looking at what they call parklets. And it's the idea where you look at deviating the sidewalk, it preserves the parking.
But it's not helping right now. We're going into winter. No one's going to sit in a gutter and eat outside. We need parking for our customers going into the holidays.
That altogether 25 parking.
Yeah.
It's a third of our parking up there is being taken up.
Yeah,
And it
just that
seems
strip.
now a little abusive that those places are the ones that are benefiting from it and the rest of us don't get extra parking.
I don't even think they benefit because nobody's going to see.
That's true.
I'm just gonna interrupt. So, John, you're doing a great job. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Alice Dowden Calvillo, and I am Mayor Pro Tem or Vice Mayor. And I just want to say that we have heard you with regards to the concerns on the temporary dining. I know that my colleagues and I have talked about this as well with our city manager. And this is something that absolutely needs to be addressed. And we absolutely do intend to make it a priority. So we hear that folks would like to have them out, coming with the seasons and so forth. And that is something that we will absolutely look at. We'll be working with our business owners there and addressing that. So we really.
You have your business owners here right now.
Yes.
You're saying political things. You're not addressing what we're actually talking about.
Well, what
You're not,
I
you can
appreciate
have had meetings, you can have more meetings, but until this is taken care of, it is a problem. And you can hear from this room that there's a majority of people sitting in this room that feel that way. So you've had meetings, you can continue to have meetings, but until something is actually concrete and we're told, we're going to do this for 6 more months, another month, whatever.
What the conversation that needs to happen is with the individual owner of the business that has the structure in front of it. We have to go in there, there are timelines, we need to work with them. So we're hearing from you, and again, this is a priority, and I know that I have several colleagues here, Rachel is here, Daniel and Matt here, and we hear you, we understand the issue, we understand the potential liabilities, and we are going to address this.
Yeah. You know,
So you have my commitment that I'm gonna make sure that we address this.
Is there a time frame? That's what I'm getting at.
Here's what we'll do. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, let's work something up.
Yes.
And you know what we'll do? We'll have a meeting right there downtown. Okay, all right.
Hey, you only have 7.
We're gonna go from the fire into the furnace. Let's talk about traffic and pedestrian things. And tonight we're just trying to get a feel, and no, we aren't gonna change the whole thing. We've got Gina over here. Gina, I can feel the heat radiating, so let's talk about this. So traffic and pedestrian on Lincoln Way. Basically, there's a bunch of different options that have been talked about. The idea, no change, obviously, that's one of the things. Periodic closures, best example is probably car show. The one-way proposal, having regular street closures, the idea of creating, the idea of coming into being, allowing for some type of a pedestrian mall. The idea that for the businesses and folks, for some reason, everybody likes to walk around and drink wine out in the middle of the street. They do. Next slide. So, here's the infamous, Gina, what is this? You want to?
It's a one-way, proposal, I don't know. Yeah.
This is
Give it to
the, now this is the
residents of
one-way
Lincoln.
proposal for Lincoln Way. This is the one where it's going south.
It's not to say that the other way wouldn't be advantageous, it's just that it's a dangerous, it's a very dangerous route
Yeah.
with
So,
very narrow streets that pose a risk.
so to kind of give the perspective on this, this basically, this is Cleveland Avenue up here going down. We've got the need for some restriping, but it's the idea of just basically turning it, going down. And, you know, one of the things that has come up is the idea that instead of it going down, that it goes up. Different type of traffic flow on various things. Amy, next slide. So I'm just showing you this. One of the things, and again, it's on the website. There's an entire folder on here that has information about the traffic flow on things. And the perspective is that when you look at, it tells you if we were going to change the traffic flow, going just one way, what would be the impact of it? And there's all sorts of engineering drawings in there. But this is table one. Just remember number one. If you think about table number one, it kind of gives you, this is what the existing traffic is. If you're going one way from Hillmont to Cherry Street, what happens to the traffic? And then it tells you what the difference is. The real fun thing about this is as we're all sitting here, our cell phones are tracking us. You actually get all this stuff now from cell phone data. It's super awesome.
But that's not assuming everybody has a cell phone, everybody has a car that has the Wi-Fi and data.
Yeah.
There's a lot of data that needs to go with that.
Yeah.
I did a lot of research on this.
So,
What's the
let's, you know what, we're gonna turn right into the storm here. Everybody get your cell phone out. All right, Amy. So, let's just see where everybody's at right now, just for laughs and giggles. Downtown preferences, one way, the idea of closure, periodic, no change.
Is it periodic for certain events?
Yeah, is it for events?
It could be for events and it could be for non-events. Maybe we decide that every third
Thursday or something.
Thursday, we decide that we're gonna just close it all down.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I think that's actually two questions. You know, it's either one way or not one way, and then it's also periodic closures, no change or no closures. There's two questions there, not just one, in my opinion.
No, that totally made sense, but I didn't completely hear it, so here's your challenge. I'm gonna give you my business card, and you're gonna send me the
Okay.
parts of the question.
Okay.
And when we pop out the Survey Monkey, we are gonna ask,
It's just saying,
this will be your,
John, it's just saying that there's a one way versus no one way, and then whether it's one way or not, you're gonna have closures or not have closures.
Yeah.
So it's one way or, it's kind of a one way or no one way.
It also depends on which ways the one-ways goes and the alternate routes.
That's the partial one way or whole thing one way? That's the partial one way.
Do we that?
From Cherry Street to down to,
yeah,
that's the partial, not the whole thing.
yeah.
It should be the whole thing that's gonna
Well,
be.
no, we're gonna take that question, we'll re-ask that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll divide it up into two questions. Lady with the head on.
It's with the one way, how, or if the street becomes one way, how do delivery trucks come and stop and deliver without stopping the whole
You know what the reality is? They're gonna stop in the middle of the street the way that they're doing right now.
They can go around it.
They can, you know, if it's only going one way, obviously you enlarge the travel lane when that happens. You know, when I go up, when I'm running through there at lunch hour, there's always some delivery truck parked out in the middle of the street doing something. So, you know, when it comes to delivery trucks, and I hate to just be blunt about it, yeah, I mean, look at your UPS drivers. They park in the middle of nowhere and they run in. That's just the way that they do it now.
Well, I was just thinking, because now it's 2 lanes, so there's a lane if they are parked there where someone can drive around it.
Exactly.
So.
That's what would happen. You would have a wider travel lane.
John, has anybody done a study as to how people enter Lincoln Way? Is it either off of Elm Street or do they come up Lincoln Way from Central Square? I mean, that really determines which way if you're going to do one way.
Great question. And if you go onto the website, there's the whole traffic report and it talks exactly about that. You can actually get the numbers. I showed you the one data table. They actually have a couple of drawings in there that are showing exactly what the traffic volume is. And, it's kind of a mix, and I'll tell you why. It's because we have the residential area. And a lot of obviously that's a big traffic flow area for residential. People coming out of their houses from Roby Point, Marvin Way, and Brook and all that stuff. So it can be deceiving because we are not only talking about a commercial corridor issue. We're talking about the fact that it also is mixed. So that's what's used some of the data. But that report, where did Amber go? When we send out the email to everybody, I'll send you the link to this traffic study and you can take a check.
I have a quick question. So I know that previously it was proposed that people it'd be two-way between Lincoln from High up to Hillmont. And then people would make a right on Hillmont. And, you know, that we're gonna go around and then around Magnolia to Cherry and then Cherry back around. Why don't we go either straight up and around Cleveland and come down and utilize an already a huge roadway that's previously the old Highway 40 or whatever it is, as opposed to diverting people going into I know that there's a parking area there, which is great, but the corner of Cherry and Magnolia is so tiny. People can't even, I drive that road every single day, and almost every day you've got it's onesie, twosie cars going there, onesie, twosie.
All of that, but people park on the street, it's hard to see it.
Right, and then when you go up from Magnolia, make a left, they have bushes and a giant wall there blocking, you can't even see people coming down until you pull out.
What we'll do.
So that I'm just saying.
Is we get.
I'm just
what
saying.
we're also gonna do, let's expand the options on this.
Yeah, it needs to be not just that route, there's other routes to make sure it's safe for everybody.
Yeah, because just so you know, the traffic study allows us to do that. It allows us to look at the impacts going different ways. So, more options. I got it. You know what they're doing? They are badgering me out there, telling me that I am buying them all lunch.
They're saving you, actually. They're saving you right now.
We're talking about pedestrians versus traffic right now. Where I see it, I'm all for the one-way street business. I think that's genius. Now, let's take the human form trying to get up and down Lincoln Way. There are some people who drive incredibly fast up and down Lincoln. They think it is Le Mans. Okay, I literally have had the police chief out there standing in the middle of the street to show him how fast people drive. And he agrees. Now, here's just an idea, it's inexpensive, it won't use a lot of our money. String a wire across the street from, from the north side to the south side, where the pedestrians walk over by the one outside cafe and Monkey Cat. Because we have such a hard time seeing over there because of that one wall structure. And put a blinking yellow light. Dangerous speed. And put one down by the other outdoor restaurant, which you cannot see because 1/3 of that is hidden as you go west on Lincoln. Okay, that's 2 lights, 2 pieces of wire. It doesn't cost a lot, but maybe it would slow some of these people down a little bit.
So basically, one thing is trying to calm traffic.
Yes.
Calm down.
Yes.
Anybody go to Santa Cruz?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody been to the Pacific Garden Mall? It's called Pacific Street. And kind of along what you're talking about. You want to know it? Pacific Street is straight. Street is straight. But do you know what it does? It meanders like that. And sometimes what you do is you put in little curves in it. You can take a straight street and you can create a meander in it. It slows everybody down because the reason why they're all bolting up there is because it's a straight street. But let's put that down. Less traffic calming in the consideration. So as we talk about the traffic, because I have to move on because I have to buy them lunch now. We'll have traffic calming options. Okay. Very good. This is more productive. I really thought that the ropes and the pitchforks were coming out when we were talking about the thing. All right. So let's talk. The last thing that we're going to talk about really quick. 2 things. I just have this map. It's up there. High Street, Upper Lincoln Way. Do you know what all these little blue dots are that say P on them are? Parking spaces. Parking spaces. This map is on, we've got this for everybody to look at. There's a file, it says parking on it. And it has a study that was done by a company back in 2012 called Walker Parking. Before we go off the rails and start talking about parking, you've got to look at this map. You've got to go to the Walker Parking Study and actually see how many parking spaces are in downtown.
Yeah, but some of that, giant building was owned by the business owner.
Yeah, you're right, but you know what? It's all there. Well, so anyway, we'll go there. All right, Amy, next slide. We got to get out of here. All right. We're going to have a question about other amenities. Wait, go to the back. Go back really quick. Thank you. So we're getting into other types of amenities and the desirability of those. If you look at these, everything from public art to fountains, to clocks. We've already got a clock tower. I don't think we can go for the second clock tower. I stole this from last week. Benches, lighting, all of that. Amy. Real quick, any other amenities? What do you think that we need to do? And I think you get to pick 2.
I got kicked off.
Water fountain for drinking or water?
Water feature.
Oh.
Remember, highlighting all the senses.
There's no dinosaur. John,
there's no dinosaur option.
we're looking for the dinosaur option on here.
It's there. You just gotta find it.
It's called art. Oh, okay.
Hey, you wanna know what, that dinosaur to be popular.
Is another public restroom ever on the, could it be
I don't-
like on the upper?
I didn't include that, but yeah, I mean, well, we'll put it in there.
Hey, John, can you put a kid play area?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we're almost there. All right, we're taking this thing home. Next slide. So again, we're just trying to get people's sense on things. We've talked about infrastructure, we've talked about, we didn't really talk that much about property owner grants. But if you were gonna pick, one of the top things that you think that we need to do with this money, what would it be? Look at that, perfect. All right. Looks like we got priority on infrastructure, so that gets into a lot of things. All right, Amy, last question. Very good. All right, and for this, this is our last slide, and we're going to take it home. If you can, if there's anything that we have not discussed tonight that you think needs to be discussed, if you can, please take a minute, type it in. If you came here and thought, I was going to talk about that, and we didn't talk about it, we will pick it up at the next meeting, or we will use it in the additional Survey Monkey as we send it out. My staff is totally looking at me hard out there right now.
Oh, yeah,
because I
I
didn't get this
see.
thing done. They're like, mad, look at that.
I can see.
They're laughing. Okay, no, we've got 35 more seconds.
Your meeting did start late.
It did. It was their fault. You know, Jonathan had got up here and was handing those things out. He threw me off.
It was strategic.
Wow, that's a lot of. All right, we're going to wrap. Here's where we're going from here. First of all, tonight we talked about some of the more desirable locations that we were looking at for focusing on. We talked about amenities. We've got input regarding infrastructure. Yep, we're going to talk about, in the course of the next 2 weeks, we will be out talking about outdoor dining in downtown. We talked about some of the amenities. We've taken notes. We realized some of the things that we didn't, so you're going to get another survey. This is a Survey Monkey that you're going to fill out on your computer, type of thing. One of the things you're going to get, number one, I'm going to send you out, we will send you an email. And in that email, what it's going to do, it's going to have a summary of the things that we talked about tonight. I'm going to summarize those. The second thing it's going to do, it's going to link you to all these other documents. And the third thing, it's going to get you to the Survey Monkey. And with that, we're done. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to put the announcement for this meeting.